You're listening to Dirty Feet, a podcast from No More Radio.
Vous écoutez le podcast Dirty Feet sur les ondes de No More Radio.
Hosted by,
Animé par
Allison Burns,
JD Papillon,
et Stéphanie Morin-Robert.
Stay tuned.
We're gonna move you.
Aujourd'hui, sur notre 66e épisode de Dirty Feet, on accueille Emmanuelle Calvé, qui présente une pièce qui sera présentée par Danse-Cité dans le contexte Traces-Hors-Sentiers, une pièce qui s'appelle EMMAC Terre Marine. Un spectacle qui sera présenté au Théâtre Rouge du Conservatoire entre le 5 mars et le 15 mars. Donc, on va bientôt commencer avec elle.
But before we get there, I just wanted to give you a heads up that in the second half of the podcast, we're going to be doing an English dual interview. We're inviting in Amy Blackmore to co-host and speak with Stephanie Morin-Robert and Kimberley de Jong about their works that are being presented in a double bill for Tangente, playing at Théâtre Prospero this week. Steph is presenting Coming and Going with her company called For Body and Light, Pour Corps et Lumière, and Kimberley will be presenting Cycle 2. So we'll be speaking with both those ladies a little later, but before then...
Oui, avant ça, on a Emmanuelle Calvé qui est directrice artistique, chorégraphe et artiste multidisciplinaire. Ça va bien?
Oui, ça va.
Parfait. Parle-nous un peu de toi. Comment tu as commencé la danse? Je sais que c'est un voyage qui se passe depuis longtemps, mais...
j'ai commencé très tôt là, à danser. Ça, c'est certain que pour moi, il y avait c'était un moyen de communication qui était clair, que c'était ça me traversait là, je sentais fort que c'était en moi tout le temps. Et puis je sais pas si ça a été un choix ou j'ai juste suivi cet élan-là. Puis ça me permettait aussi de vivre ma vie comme je le sentais, je pense, d'être en communion avec les choses plus sensibles. D'une façon plus sensible, puis avec les gens aussi. La danse, c'est vraiment, depuis que je suis tout petite, je le sens que c'est un outil de transformation puis de guérison pour c'est ça, vivre la vie intensément. Ça fait que moi, c'était ma façon, c'était comment je voulais vivre ma vie, puis très jeune, je l'ai ressenti. Et puis j'ai toujours dansé, puis ensuite j'ai fait toutes sortes de trucs là, du flamenco, la comédie musicale, j'ai fait aussi mes arts visuels à Québec. J'ai étudié, c'est un DEC que j'ai fait, mais ça a toujours fait partie de ma démarche. Et puis ensuite je suis allée à Concordia en danse contemporaine. Et puis déjà je commençais à mélanger tous les médiums qui m'intéressaient. Et puis, aussi, ce qui m'intéressait, c'était de rencontrer différents artistes, puis d'échanger vraiment avec eux, tu sais, sur le plan humain, là, d'avoir des rencontres, puis des sessions où on fait juste s'amuser, puis discuter, puis donc, déjà très tôt, je pense, dans mon processus quand j'ai commencé à danser, j'avais toutes des petites graines de ce que je suis maintenant qui étaient en train de grandir. Donc oui, la danse, j'ai commencé il y a longtemps, pour répondre à la question.
oui. Puis, dans le fond, l'art visuel, puis vous avez dit que c'est vraiment ça fait partie de votre démarche artistique. En 2007, c'est quand vous avez fait, c'est quelle pièce déjà?
La première, en fait, quand je pense que vous parlez de Lampe intérieure, qui était une pièce que j'avais présentée solo à Vue sur la relève et Tangente. Mm-hmm. Mais avant ça, j'avais fait une autre petite création où j'avais présenté au Studio 303.
Ah oui, c'est ça.
Ouais, c'était une pièce qui réunissait en fait tous des hommes déjà non danseurs. Déjà, ça m'intéressait de travailler avec des gens qui venaient pas de la danse, puis de leur partager ce que la danse pouvait faire dans leur vie puis dans leur corps.
Puis c'était Aya.
Ouais, ça s'appelait.
Puis pourquoi ça t'intéresse justement de travailler avec des gens qui sont des non-danseurs?
Parce que je vois ce que la danse peut leur donner, puis ça me fait triper.
Oui.
Je vois c'est incroyable comme j'enseigne aussi aux femmes victimes de violences depuis 2007 à peu près. Et puis, à chaque fois que je rentre en atelier puis que je leur donne un atelier, au début puis à la fin, sont complètement différentes. Leur énergie vitale, leur sourire intérieur, la façon qu'ils se communiquent entre elles, et ils sont beaucoup plus ouvertes, beaucoup plus... Donc, puis ça, c'est des femmes qui ont vécu des trucs difficiles, mais quand je suis avec des artistes ou des gens de
d'autres disciplines.
Ouais, ben je vois l'ouverture que ça fait pour tout en nous, où ça peut nous amener. Je sais pas, c'est vraiment les rencontres. Je sais pas si je suis bien dans mon époque, moi, de super, on s'écrit par ordi. Je suis vraiment comme encore dans le temps où je veux des vraies rencontres. On se réunit autour d'un feu puis on se raconte des histoires. Tu sais, je suis un peu là-dedans, puis je pense qu'on gagnerait tous à garder un peu de ça là, pour reconnecter ensemble puis avoir des échanges nourrissants et tout ça. Mais donc c'est ça, de voir dans les autres artistes où la danse peut amener leur discipline ou le contraire pour moi aussi.
Puis les histoires des autres ou les victimes ou ceux qui t'aident un peu avec la danse-thérapie ou mouvement-thérapie, est-ce que tu t'en sers comme inspiration dans tes pièces?
Ben pas dans celle-là. Celle-là, ça a vraiment été ma propre thérapie.
Mais on a le droit.
Oui, c'est vraiment... c'est en fait, EMMAC, je réfléchissais à ça ce matin, je me disais, c'est vraiment un espace que j'ai laissé naître en moi, que j'ai découvert, que mon corps m'a raconté peu à peu. Donc, ça a demandé du temps. Puis, il y a eu plusieurs étapes, puis je pouvais pas le forcer puis le rusher. Mais c'est sûr que tout ce qu'il y a dans ce spectacle-là, ça fait partie des côtés de moi, des facettes de moi. Donc, je suis vraiment allée profondément dans mes propres questionnements, puis mes propres thèmes qui m'intéressaient quand j'ai commencé le projet. Ouais.
Puis parlons de thèmes justement. Je sais que tout ce qui est culturel, tradition, même les contes, c'est quelque chose qui est quand même super présent. Peux-tu nous parler un peu de tes origines puis comment que ça inspire ton travail?
Ouais. Mais en fait, moi, de plus en plus, ça se clarifie là, mes origines. J'ai l'impression d'être juste un enfant de la terre comme tout le monde. En fait, tu sais, en fait. Les thèmes qui sont... Attends, repose ta question, parce que je suis pas sûre que je vais répondre comme il faut. Mes origines à moi...
ou à toi, ou même tout ce qui est culturel, ou le présence traditionnelle.
Les contes, en fait, que je me suis inspirée dernièrement, le conte de la femme squelette, qui a été une source d'inspiration pour ce conte-là, mais ce n'est pas le conte de la femme squelette que je refais en show. Okay. Ça a été une inspiration parce que j'ai réalisé que dans les contes, il y avait souvent des thèmes et des remèdes pour... Les gens racontaient une histoire de la vie. À travers des personnages, à travers des lieux imaginaires. Puis c'était souvent, on parlait des grands thèmes de la vie, le deuil, des transformations de l'humain, des obstacles qu'on peut vivre, puis tout ça, mais ils rendaient ça un peu fantastique. Puis moi, j'ai accroché sur un livre qui s'appelle « Femme qui court avec les loups », puis dedans, il y a beaucoup de contes. Puis ce conte-là, La femme squelette, il m'a accroché parce que au moment où je l'ai découvert, j'étais en train de vivre des choses par rapport au deuil et par rapport au cycle de la vie et de la mort. Et puis, j'avais comme mes propres peurs par rapport à ça. Puis là, j'avais le goût d'approfondir. Puis c'est super, c'est un beau conte, là. Ça fait que j'ai rentré dedans, puis je me suis laissée porter là-dedans. Mais tu sais, j'ai pas non plus exploré tant de contes que ça encore, là. C'est comme le premier où je vais vraiment profondément dedans. C'est le conte de la femme squelette. Sinon, ben j'aime créer mes propres histoires.
Puis après ça, il y a eu Lampe intérieure, dont tu as parlé, que vous avez présenté à Tangente. Puis La Selva au temps des cerises au Jésus.
Ça, c'était un projet que j'ai été en résidence au Jésus à quelques reprises. Et puis, c'était un projet de recherche que j'ai fait là-bas. avec d'autres danseurs. Et puis, il y avait encore une fois une femme qui dansait pas dans les 70 ans qui était avec nous, qui avait un rôle aussi. Et puis, là, déjà, la marionnette commençait à prendre encore un peu plus de place que lampe intérieure, puis le multidisciplinaire aussi. Et que ça a comme grossi. J'y laissais de plus en plus de place. Puis, c'est ça. Donc, c'est le fruit d'une résidence au Jésus. Puis après la Selva, j'ai eu Peau d'or, Sort de l'ombre, que j'ai présenté dans les maisons de la culture, puis à Tangente aussi.
Et depuis, donc comme vous avez dit, c'est vraiment quelque chose qui se construit. Il y a plus de place, plus laisser soit d'autres artistes, plus de pratiques, différents arts. Puis là, on est arrivé à pas un monstre, mais un autre univers, tu sais, EMMAC. Puis je pense que pourrais vous dire peut-être que c'est quelque chose que vous travaillez depuis longtemps, même avant de nécessairement travailler sur le spectacle.
Oui, c'est sûr qu'il y a des genres de restes de d'autres créations, j'imagine, à l'intérieur, sans que je m'en rende compte. Puis c'est sûr que c'est comme tu dis le gros morceau là, mais moi je m'attendais pas avec tout parce que j'ai commencé à peu près en 2011 techniquement à avoir des résidences puis à créer pour ce projet-là, mais je voulais pas créer un spectacle à l'époque. En 2011, je venais de finir Peau d'or puis j'avais plus envie de prendre soin.
De la recherche.
Ouais. Puis c'est ça, donc c'est vraiment, je suis encore surprise de travailler avec des grands noms comme tu sais les collaborateurs qui travaillent sur ce show-là. Il y a Richard Desjardins qui est là live à Danse-Cité. Donc,
live?
Oui.
Ah, je le savais pas.
Il est là live à Danse-Cité.
Wow.
Puis c'est lui qui a écrit les textes. Donc, moi, je lui ai envoyé une première version de mon histoire. Puis il est venu en répétition. Puis après ça, il a rédigé les textes vraiment pour le spectacle. Puis il y a Joran qui a créé vraiment la musique pour le spectacle aussi. Puis Richard Lacroix, qui est scénographe, tu sais, c'est vraiment des gens qui je pense en tout cas, quand je pensais à ces gens-là, c'était pour moi, y aller avec l'énergie du spectacle, puis le type de rencontre que je voulais pour ce spectacle-là. Là, c'est des gens très humains, puis qui sont super captivants, puis généreux. Donc, c'est ça. Donc, EMMAC, c'est comme... après ça, je sais pas, je vais-tu tomber? C'est-tu le bout de l'affaire? Des fois, je me dis, qu'est-ce que je vais faire après ça? J'ai tout fait. Non, mais c'est ça. Je prends une chose à la fois. Là, je vis le moment, puis c'est ça, je vais accoucher bientôt, là.
Wow. Puis, parlons de collaboration, parce que c'est un échange quand même assez intéressant. Puis aujourd'hui, on peut collaborer avec quelqu'un sans nécessairement être dans la même chambre qu'eux ou dans le même studio, avec l'Internet et tout. Puis comment intégrer vraiment le vécu, les histoires, le pratique artistique à quelqu'un d'autre avec votre travail, puis quand même faire en sorte que... C'est comment diriger ça, mais sans et aussi laisser confiance aux collaborateurs. Ouais. Donc, comment trouvez-vous ce balance-là?
Il y a beaucoup de discussions. Il y a, tu sais, moi, je présente ma vision, ce que je vois. J'essaie de les rentrer le plus possible dans mon univers pour qu'ils puissent
habiter.
Oui, c'est ça. Puis, tu sais, comme par exemple la marionnette, j'avais vraiment envie de faire mes propres marionnettes, puis la conception, ça faisait longtemps que je voyais le mouvement en lien avec les marionnettes, puis c'est très, très près un de l'autre. Et puis, donc, tu sais, mon ami Jean, qui a construit des marionnettes, je lui montrais le dessin ou les matériaux, puis il y a vraiment un échange, tu sais, il me disait, il me proposait quelque chose, je pouvais dire, ça bouge pas assez pour la danse, tu sais, on peut pas, ça va briser pour telle chose. Fait que là, mais les gens, ils se sont fondus, puis ils ont rentré dans mon propre, puis après ça, c'est de laisser l'espace pour qu'ils me proposent des choses, puis c'est ça, c'est de s'écouter, de laisser respirer, puis c'est sûr qu'il a fallu que je dirige une grosse équipe, là. Je me suis vraiment mis dans un gros rôle. J'ai été, directrice artistique, chorégraphe, interprète et je dirige chaque artiste, dans le fond, un peu dans les... Fait que c'est énorme.
Plusieurs chapeaux à porter.
Plus essayer d'avoir des subventions. Puis, mais heureusement, il y a Danse-Cité qui est comme un gros cadeau dans ma vie, là. Et puis, il y a eu le mai aussi qui a été vraiment important pour moi parce que c'est grâce au mai, au programme d'accompagnement que j'ai pu créer, vraiment faire de la recherche parce que j'ai été au programme d'accompagnement pendant 1 an. Et que c'est ça. Puis les résidences.
Puis quand on fait partie de Danse-Cité, c'est-tu de l'aide à la publicité?
C'est beaucoup d'aide.
Vraiment.
Ouais. Ben, tu te sens comme une structure qui te soutient, en fait, à place d'être juste par toi-même. Puis, c'est sûr que toute l'équipe m'aide énormément, là. C'est que c'est pour faire, disons, par exemple, je veux donner des ateliers à des jeunes avec ce projet-là. Je pense qu'il y a des thèmes à partager aux jeunes. Et puis, ils vont m'aider, disons, à faire mon cahier pédagogique pour que les écoles puissent venir puis discuter avec les professeurs ou des trucs comme ça. C'est un gros morceau, là, Danse-Cité, là, parce que je me souviens, à un moment donné, j'avais mon projet, j'avais la subvention, mais j'avais pas de diffuseur. J'ai dit, oh my God, qu'est-ce que je vais faire? Mais c'est comme arrivé comme ça, là, c'est que...
Ouais. Puis, EMMAC, on peut-tu dire que c'est un spectacle, vu que il y a tellement d'aspects différents, que c'est un spectacle pour tous les âges? C'est-tu plus pour les jeunes, pour les familles?
Vraiment, moi, je crée pour tous. Quand je crée une pièce, je me mets pas d'âge en tête. J'essaie que ça soit pour tout humain qui a un cœur. Mais c'est certain que visuellement, moi, je pense que ça peut aller pour tous. Les textes de Richard sont quand même poétiques, puis je pense que adolescent, tu peux discuter avec ton professeur du texte puis des mots.
Contenu, oui.
Ouais, mais c'est sûr que en tout cas, moi, je pense que j'ai discuté avec quelques-uns de mes collaborateurs, puis il y en a qui ont des enfants là-dedans, puis ils ont dit, moi, mon enfant, il a 7 ans, puis je pense qu'il va triper, puis... Fait que, tu sais, c'est dur à dire avant de l'avoir présenté.
Il y a un petit quelque chose qui va venir chercher.
Ouais, mais on s'entend que c'est un conte fantastique avec des marionnettes géantes, puis tu sais, je me mets dans la peau d'un enfant, au pire, tu vas avoir... mais je dirais pas très, très jeune, là, parce que c'est sûr que c'est un conte qui se passe dans le Grand Nord, et dans l'océan. Donc, il y a un rythme puis un temps Grand Nord. Puis il faut le vivre comme ça. Ouais. C'est lent, pas lent, mais tu comprends, il y a une grande espace. Ouais, c'est vaste. Puis c'est un rythme d'hiver. C'est que, oui, ça bouge là, quand même, mais je sais pas à quel point un enfant de 4 ans va pouvoir rester assis pendant que moi puis mon morse, on se regarde pendant 3 minutes. Tu sais. C'est pas long pour un adulte, mais c'est ça, je pense que tu comprends ce que je veux dire. Oui.
Et comment trouver le balance entre être interprète puis chorégraphe en même temps? Est-ce que vous avez un œil extérieur ou un...
Oh my God. Je fais ça depuis que j'ai gradué à Concordia, je suis dans mes pièces. Puis c'est toujours intense. J'ai ma caméra. Pendant longtemps, j'avais juste ma caméra. J'ai créé la majorité. Puis après, j'ai commencé à inviter peu à peu des danseurs ou des yeux extérieurs. Mais j'ai eu personne de constant. J'ai eu plus des personnes qui viennent de temps en temps. Et puis, je trouve ça plus facile au début d'être chorégraphe et interprète. Puis là, c'est rendu à être vraiment comme... Il faut que ça soit tout rodé puis tout parfait. Tu sais, comme quand il faut vraiment là, que ça soit en mode... Là, on a eu là, les 2 semaines où j'ai freaké un peu parce que j'ai réalisé que c'est comme s'il y avait une partie en moi qui avait pas... l'interprète en moi, elle avait pas pris toute sa place. J'avais été beaucoup justement dans la direction puis dans diriger les autres interprètes parce qu'on est 3 là. Et puis là, j'ai réalisé, hey, là, il est temps là que tu mettes tout de côté, tu rentres profondément tu sais, je disais toujours, je vais faire ça plus tard. Tu sais, moi, je vais le reporter. C'est ça le danger un peu, c'est que tu te mets un peu tout le temps en dernier. Tu sais, tu passes tout le monde avant, là. Puis là, c'est ça. Mais là, je l'ai fait.
Là, t'as plus le choix.
Ouais, j'ai plus le choix, là. Il faut que je rentre dans mes bottes. Puis c'est moi qu'on suit quand même. C'est le personnage Emma qu'on suit dans la pièce. Fait fallait que je m'y mette, là. Fait que c'est ça. Puis c'est ça, les deux autres interprètes, c'est Jody Eggle puis Jean-François Blanchard, qui sont, lui, comédien, puis elle, danseuse. Donc, aucun des deux avait touché à la marionnette avant. Donc ça a été du coaching, quand même, beaucoup de coaching pour leur partager ma passion de la marionnette. C'est ça aussi, c'est que souvent, je vais pas prendre des gens qui sont calés dans danse, calés en marionnette, calés en... Je réalise que je me ramasse tout le temps à l'enseigner, puis à le partager. Puis c'est quelque chose qui peut-être qui fait partie de moi. De pas prendre le meilleur marionnettiste, puis la meilleure danseuse, puis le meilleur comédien, qui est comme... Je veux dire, je veux pas dire qu'ils sont pas bons, mais tu comprends ce que je veux dire? C'est de pas prendre j'ai pas pris des marionnettistes, puis ils manipulent des marionnettes. Mais j'aimais ce partage-là.
Donc, de prendre quelqu'un qui a cette soif-là d'apprendre, qui est plus important d'avoir quelqu'un qui connaît déjà la job.
Ouais.
C'est intéressant. Donc, de pouvoir se retirer du travail, mais aussi d'être dedans, c'est quand même un défi.
Oui, puis en plus, c'est que je dessine beaucoup à travers ça. Là, il va y avoir une petite exposition de mes dessins à l'entrée du spectacle. C'est que les gens vont pouvoir voir un peu
behind the scenes.
Un petit peu des trucs que j'ai dessinés ou des croquis ou tout ça. Et puis, donc, en plus de chorégraphier, danser, tout ça, là, j'ai tout sorti dernièrement. Mes dessins, je les ai tous mis à terre, mes peintures, les trucs que j'ai... c'est des premiers prototypes de marionnettes, puis tout ça. Puis là, j'essaie de, en plus, en faire... prendre les meilleurs, puis les partager. Là. Ça fait que c'est vraiment comme toute une petite terre, tout un petit monde que je vais montrer.
Oui.
C'est pas juste un show de danse, là, ça c'est sûr.
Puis pour Joran, est-ce que c'est préenregistré pour la musique?
Oui. Elle est vraiment en composition. On est dans les derniers 1000 là, pour la composition, mais oui, ça va être préenregistré puisque... Mais c'est ça, là, il y a Richard sa scène, Joran, puis plus nous, ça aurait été comme un show.
Oh my God!
Un peu trop. Mais non, c'est ça, elle n'est pas là.
Et Richard Desjardins, est-ce qu'il y a sa place sur scène?
Ah oui, il y a une belle place.
Moi, je viens de Timmins, Ontario, donc c'était proche de la BDP et tout. Donc, Richard Desjardins, c'était un héros pour les Franco-Ontariens.
Oui.
Et mon père travaillait dans les mines et tout, donc c'est quelque chose dans le Nord. Donc, c'est quand même quelqu'un qui a un vécu qui vient me toucher.
Ah oui, moi, avec lui. Vraiment. J'en reviens pas encore. Là. Sa voix, elle porte énormément, puis elle vibre là, dans l'âme. Là, j'ai l'impression que...
Mais ça doit faire quelque chose aussi en tant qu'interprète, tu sais, je sais pas s'il y a du mouvement en même temps que les textes.
Oui.
OK.
Oui, on est là-dedans. Là.
Je suis curieuse, là. C'est comme...
Oui.
Mais c'est bon. Pour tout ce qui est marionnette, est-ce que je sais que vous enseignez souvent, que ce soit les femmes victimes de violences ou des ateliers avec les jeunes. Est-ce que c'est quelque chose que vous souhaitez vraiment continuer et pousser?
Oui. Moi, je veux continuer. En fait, je veux manipuler aussi les marionnettes un peu plus parce que là, je réalise que moi, je trippe à manipuler des marionnettes, vraiment. Puis là, j'ai deux interprètes qui le font très bien, puis que j'ai partagé ça. C'est leur rôle un peu dans la pièce, mais je réalise que moi, finalement, je manipule pas tant que ça. Puis c'est vraiment moi qui trippe à ça, tu sais. C'est que, oui, je veux manipuler plus, faire plus de conception, explorer ça encore plus. Et puis, ouais. Que c'est pas la dernière pièce avec marionnette, certain.
Et Mac, c'est un spectacle qui va peut-être partir en tournée? Ou
oui, on l'espère. Il y a déjà des choses qui se disent. Là. Ça se peut très bien, mais je suis allée à Rosec présenter un extrait vidéo. Puis là, je m'en vais à Rideau cette semaine encore pour présenter le même extrait. Donc, je pense que il y a un intérêt pour la pièce.
Oui, oui. Puis, il y a beaucoup de collaborations dans ce projet-là.
Oui.
Donc, y a-t-il des moments où que c'est plus le travail des autres artistes qui va inspirer le projet tel compte ou le spectacle, ou c'est vraiment...
ça part beaucoup non, c'est beaucoup partie de mon histoire, dans le fond. Tu sais,
Donc, l'histoire, le texte, c'est vraiment le base.
Les dessins, le mouvement. En fait, la plupart habituellement, je vais créer du mouvement avant. Puis là, j'ai vraiment créé la danse autour des prototypes et de la marionnette. Fait que ça, c'est quelque chose qui est différent pour moi. Je suis partie du dessin à la marionnette, puis ensuite au mouvement. Donc, c'est vraiment pas... ça s'est pas ajouté à la danse, tu sais.
Ouais,
c'est vraiment comme ça que ça s'est fait, non.
Puis, il n'y a pas vraiment de recette pour vos pièces. Des fois, il y a peut-être un élément différent qui va plus ressortir qu'une autre. Puis... Mais
c'est certain que je suis de plus en plus consciente que pour moi, un temps de recherche assez long, c'est important, puis c'est ça que j'aime faire. J'aime vraiment le chemin pour se rendre, mais je pense que beaucoup d'artistes, c'est comme ça. Là.
Chaque étape.
Oui. Il n'y a pas de recette, mais ce que je constate, c'est que j'ai toujours eu beaucoup de résidences avant des projets ou avant des spectacles parce que j'en ai besoin. Puis c'est ça, le temps de recherche, c'est peut-être mon petit ingrédient. C'est ça, c'est quelque chose que j'ai besoin. Oui.
Puis Puis il y a toujours plus de recherche que le produit final. Il y a beaucoup plus de
après,
chemin.
T'as 8 spectacles, puis t'es comme, oh mon Dieu! Non, mais là, il va en avoir plus, c'est sûr.
Bon, c'est parfait. Mais merci beaucoup.
Merci
ça fait un grand plaisir. Oui. Donc, c'est Emmanuelle Calvé qui va présenter EMMAC Terre Marine à Danse-Cité dans la programmation Traces-Hors-Sentiers.
C'est aussi dans le cadre du festival Les 3 jours de Castelier, qui est un festival de marionnettes à Montréal.
Ça tombe
bien.
C'est
que, j'y avais pensé. Fait que le 7 mars, c'est vraiment présenté dans le cadre du festival aussi.
OK. Donc, le spectacle sera présenté au Théâtre Rouge du Conservatoire le 5 et 6 mars à 20h, le 7 mars à 19h, le 8 mars à 20h, le 12 mars à 14h et du 13 au 15 mars à 20h. Donc, merci beaucoup, Emmanuelle, et à bientôt.
Journée.
Bonne journée à toi.
So in the second half of this Dirty Feet episode, we're going to be speaking to 2 choreographers who are presenting work as part of a double bill at Tangente this week. We have Kimberley de Jong and Stephanie Morin-Robert. So of course Stephanie is our co-host here on Dirty Feet, so she's taking a different seat today. We're giving her a break from hosting so that she can be our guests on the show. And in her place, we have Amy Blackmore, who's coming in to guest host on Dirty Feet today. So thanks so much for being here, Amy.
Oh, no problem. It feels like home.
Good. Amy's been on the show before. We've had you on. We didn't have you on speaking about Bouche d'ici, but you are the artistic director of Bouche d'ici. Mm-hmm. You also run Mainline Theatre and the Fringe Festival.
You also teach dance, choreograph for theater. My goodness, like you do a lot. So you know what you're talking about.
You're making me want to take a vacation.
Well, do you remember what we had you on the show for before?
Oh,
yes, I remember. It was
Rocky Horror.
Rocky Horror, yeah.
Okay.
It was for Rocky Horror in October.
Perfect. So she should be a familiar voice. Welcome back. And maybe I can give the reins to you, Amy.
Ooh, so exciting. Love it. Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me here today. And it's such a pleasure to meet Kimberley. And I mean, Stephanie, we know each other already from your work at Mainline Theatre and The Fringe. And I thought that maybe I'd start with that actually, because I am familiar with your work already as you are doing your artist in residence. You are the artist in residence at Mainline at the moment. But Kimberley, I saw on the Tangent website that you did a residency at Studio 303.
Yeah, that's right.
So I was just sort of wondering, how important doing a residency is in the creation of a work. Is it something that's a requirement for both of you, or is it just a tool that allows you to have time in studio and to work on your work?
Yeah. So yes, the residency is really, really helpful. Because I can have more time later on in the studio. Having had the residency, it provides financial help, and it's also just a space and time that's provided that I don't have to think maybe about scheduling. It's already there in advance, and it's. I don't say it's it's not like mandatory, but it definitely is a huge aid within the creation process. Yeah,
that's great. Sometimes I feel pretty lucky about us being in Montreal and having places like Studio 3 who've been doing residencies or residences for years now, I believe. What about you, Steph?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great thing to have, because overall it's what makes the work possible, and especially trying to plan this show and working with such a large group, because we're 7, sometimes 8 in all, and that involves a lot of financial support, especially when trying to take a show on the road. So it's been a huge help in having space and knowing that it's there, and knowing that when I go there, Mainline's like my second home, sometimes even my first home, depending on the time of year. So it's really a good place to have and to feel kind of safe in. And whether it's I go there to just be alone and be on my computer, or whether I just go there to actually have a rehearsal or work on my own personal work, or just, freak out or anything. It's just great to have a location available.
That's really great. There's so many layers to putting a show together. So you have your residencies that you're doing, you have your collaborations with your many artists. Stephanie, you said you're 7 or 8. How many are you in your project?
I have 2 dancers. And I used to be part of the piece. Obviously, when I found out I was pregnant, I pulled out, and it's been really great being an outside eye. It's been really important within this process. I also just wanted to mention that you had mentioned Studio 303, and I did that residency in the beginning of this creation. And then recently, like this year, I had a huge support from Compagnie Marie Chouinard. So I had a big residency there. So I just wanted to mention that was the most recent residency I
That's
had.
Great. That's really good to know. And I didn't even realize that they did residencies there as well. But I guess because they have the space that's available and funds available, they're able to do those kinds of things, right?
Yes, they do it, quite a bit now.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. We're so lucky because you did bring your daughter with you today. And so I keep looking at you to speak, but I also have to look down at the same time. So congratulations.
Thank you.
That must have been an interesting experience, backing away and becoming the outside eye for your work. And Stephanie, you often dance in your work as well, but I believe you've taken a bit of a outside choreographer look to it. Maybe let's talk a bit about that. I mean, has that changed how you feel about the work?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think it's there are some movements or moments in a piece, I think, that feel good, but they don't always look as good as they feel. That's, I guess, what I've realized through this kind of coming out and stepping out. I mean, I'm still a part of the performance, but more in a way where I'm manipulating lights and more in a technical way, I guess we could say. So it's been interesting to be on that side of things, and also, I guess, get to catch a few more details, or just being able to really sink in deep and organize the space in a way. So yeah, I enjoy being on the outside of it. It's always tempting to be in it because it's always lovely to perform and be a part of your work. But yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel it's actually, for me, it was a lot harder to be in my own work because I didn't have that outside, larger perspective. Like you said, it feels really good to dance, and I love to dance. But so being outside, the outside eye, I've had more clarity and direction with the work. But I also feel like I need to try certain things out, even if I'm the outside eye. Like, I can't really just always sit on the chair. I mean, sometimes I will, but I think for the interpreters, it's very helpful when I'm able to go in it myself. And for example, there's some text in the piece, and I knew what I wanted through doing it and showing them that way. Because sometimes I don't have the words to say what I want exactly. So I'll do it and I'll try it out myself, and then I'll come to conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
I can totally relate to that. I find in my own process that happens all the time. I'm constantly replacing dancers and moving them around and saying, okay, just let me be you for a minute and watch, and then let's switch after that.
For anyone who hasn't kind of seen the video or photos or has no context for your work, I mean, we can take the information that you used to dance for Mary Chouinard, and you studied Gaga in Tel Aviv, the Batsheva.
Yeah, that was a while ago now, but yeah, that was actually when I was pregnant with my first child. I went and did a development grant there.
Okay.
So that was really fun. She's in my belly while I was doing Gaga. Pretty fun.
It seems like a comfortable movement
a real
to be
floating,
doing.
a lot of imagery. So
nice. So do these things inform your work now? Like, how would you describe
Yes and no. They're definitely seeds for my work. I think there's mention that I did Continuum with Linda Rabin, and I haven't had as much time for these types of workshops in the last years, but I would say like life experience is more what I'm using now, having had the 2 kids now, and also going through my grandmother's passing, and most recently my father, very recently. So I think that just taking some time away from the studio and living too is really important for my work. You know, that it's not just about in studio, but what happens when we're not in studio, so that I can bring something to the stage, you know, like a real life experience. So that's really informed my work, I'd say, more recently. Yes.
That sounds like it would be a real thing to keep in mind when you're casting, that you would have to have people that you could really trust with that.
Well, Brianna Lombardo, I actually danced with her, with Fred Gravel. And so it was really great getting to know her on tour and really sharing some, you know, intimate moments on stage with her. So I got to know her as a performer, as a friend, and we've been through some, you know, life-changing events as well together. So, definitely, I think she's an incredible interpreter. So just to work with that already is huge. And vital, you know, to work. And then Nathan, I did the first 10-minute version of Cycle with him at Danse Buissonnaire. So I got to know him, you know, through creating on him for the first version of this piece. And what's really nice about working with Nathan is I really feel like he's in a spot, in a place in his career where he's really taking huge jumps and evolving a lot in this period. And so to see him, you know, mature as an artist is really, really fun. Yeah.
And to maybe slide it over here and talk about your background and where your movement quality is inspired from, Stephanie, because you're a Concordia graduate. What else do you feel like describes your style?
It's a good question. I feel like it's come from a very therapeutic place where I've always done dance to kind of run away from my reality of whether it was like family problems or personal problems or dealing with like sickness when I was young. And I think it's really what allowed me to continue on and kind of be the person I am today, and channeling my emotions and all of that. So it's a very therapeutic thing. And if I could take that and turn it into something that I could share and that maybe people could relate to, and that's where I could really relate to wanting to take life experiences and kind of make that and share that, you know, and whether the people who are watching it could relate or not, I guess that's not really the important part, right? Well, sometimes, but yeah, so I think it comes from a place where it's a release. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a release. I like that a lot. Speaking of the work, I'd love to hear a bit about it. So I watched the videos on the Tangent website today. A really great tool. I'm so glad that there's videos up with all the shows. It's awesome. It'll help me choose my future performances I will attend. But yeah, so I was watching the work. Very interesting. I've seen some of your work before, Steph. And I hadn't seen a cycle, the original one, at Danse-Poissonnière last year. So I was curious to see that video, and I'm curious to hear about it. What does this work mean to you, especially as you talk about it, you know, reflecting, maybe not reflecting, but you want to put work out there that comes from some of your life experiences?
Well, definitely 4 years ago, after Gaia, my first daughter, was born, and then about 6 months later, my grandmother, she was 94, and I assisted a really peaceful passing of hers, and I was there till the very end, and it was very life-changing experience just watching her let go. And you used that word "let go," and I really do believe it was about letting go, the layers of her life, because she had just lived a full life, and it was a letting go process, and how I could relate that to having given birth. It was like I had to let go of, just my mind in some way, and it became about entering the animal body, and it became this primal thing, and then there was other connections that I could make too. I was looking after, like I said, my 6-month-old, and there was just such a dependency she had on me, and so did my grandmother at the time, and I was nursing her a little bit as well, just giving her massages and stuff like that. So, and then there was also like just the physicality of my daughter, having, just still being in kind of the fetal position when she slept, and then my grandmother reverting to that. So there was just more and more connections to be made. And I thought, wow, well, that would be, a lot of material to work with in the studio.
Yeah, that's great. And, I just love the whole idea of the cycle, because I think it is real and it is true. It's funny, when you came in earlier, before we started recording, you were saying, I'm going to keep my jacket on because I have my daughter with me, because of that dependence that, you're talking about.
She sleeps better cute when she's all
bundled up. Yeah.
That's great. What about you, Stephanie?
Yeah, it's like, I love how this happened as far as the programming goes, because for us it was a really late ad in the program. I think we found out maybe 2 months ago.
Yeah, and the woman you're replacing fell pregnant too.
Yeah, so it was just all these cycles, and then Dina was like, "You better not get pregnant." She was joking, but
I was just about to ask you, are you pregnant?
Yeah, it would be a great moment to share that with
Announce
the world, but
it on
no,
Dirty
I'm
Feet.
I'm not, but I do have a huge love for babies. Anyway, but my work does revolve around cycles, in I guess a different way, more how the cycle of like the universe and the of nature and of the tides and the moon and how those cycles really influence us, like this environment that influences us to either change without noticing or to adapt. So it's kind of, which is very similar. But yeah, and I guess it all came out of a residency that we had in Nova Scotia in the Bay of Fundy, and where we were actually creating movement with our feet in the water, and we would repeat this sequence until we were about neck deep as the water's coming up and the tide's coming up, and just that urgency of having to move away or having to surrender because of the danger and also because of just tons and tons of water being moved back and forth every day. It's just something that's bigger than us and kind of makes you feel powerless. And also made me realize that, we're constantly moving. And if it's not us, that's moving, everything's moving around us. And it was this really overwhelming realization of I think we're always there's movement happening all the time without actually having to move.
Dina did a really good job of programming, because I feel like through what you're saying, I can connect so much to what I kind of believe in too, in terms of movement, and that we're always moving, and even in complete stillness, there's so much movement within that we can't hold time. And we can't control it. And we think we can sometimes, or we wish we could, but it's just...
and kind of coming to realize that sometimes you just need to surrender and let things happen. And sometimes, I guess it's about the human body being super fragile and very strong all at once. So it's the balance between the two, because we're all very fragile, but we kind of think we're these strong kind of people that
or that we can prolong life. We're somehow we think we can be
invincible.
Or immortal. But
Speaking of time and the passing of time, I've been waiting for this show to take place for a really long time now, I feel. And I can't believe that it's going to be taking place this week at Tangente. I'm curious because it is a double bill. And like you said, it does sound like Dina's done a really great job of programming you two together. Had you met before? How long have you known each other? I'm very curious about how that plays out.
I think this is the most we've actually talked, but we've crossed paths maybe once. I think
I haven't seen Stephanie. I haven't seen your work yet, so I'm really looking forward to that in theater this
Very
week.
Excited.
Oh, so exciting! And something I want to address. I know light is really important in your work, Steph. Your company is called
For Body and Light.
For Body and Light, or Pour Corps et Lumière. Can you talk a little bit about how light influences your work, how that influences the movement that we maybe how it influences what the audience will see, what they might not?
I guess coming back to the residency once again, I love how the environment and site-specific work was immersed in an environment that was constantly changing, but not having, no, I don't want to start talking about God, but it's not like it's just an environment that's changing on its own. And then when you go into a theater, it's like this, there's somebody in the tech and then everything's being changed for you, and it's pre-thought. So I was I rather have something that's kind of more, that could be manipulated by the performers, and where the light is actually just another element or another performer on its own, because the way the light swings and the weight of it and the decisions that the light will make are kind of unpredictable, because we can't control its full swing or the momentum of the push at that moment. So there's something about that, about being unpredictable, that I really enjoy, and the fact that it being able to sculpt and sculpt the space and sculpt the body and so I think it's an interesting thing, and to me it symbolizes the moon, which is coming back to cycles, and the main reason that the tides come up and down, right? So that magnetic force and the pull, and so
Can I just add briefly, because I love whenever this word is brought up in your descriptions of imagination, the difference between imagination and what is seen, and having what is in light and what is in shadow, and what is said outright and what is poetry, I like that distinction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess because it's in collaboration with Ian Ferrier, who's a spoken word artist here in Montreal, and our two worlds kind of colliding is like creating this new world where his texts could be very abstract but have a story of their own and hold themselves together on their own, and then there's movement that exists on its own, but once they're put together it creates something completely new and gives the movement new meaning, gives the text space and maybe time to breathe and a visual, and it's been a really interesting balance, and all comes down to me realizing that I don't need to have movement. I don't need to have so much movement, and it's a hard thing because we just want to move. But yeah.
Right on. And have you been working with Ian since the beginning of your process?
Yeah.
That's interesting. And I'm sure challenging also, right?
Yeah. Well, Ian is from a whole other generation. He's also got a lot of experience in this whole different kind of practice. So that's been a really interesting thing. And it's been a little over a year now, and we had originally met in the collective Body Slam and decided to kind of carry through and do the work together. So it's been a really lovely collaboration. And I mean, he's been like, I almost see him as a mentor, you know. He's my collaborator, but we've been each other's teachers and kind of just explaining and getting each other to understand each other's practice.
That's nice. So you've been working together for a little over a year, you were saying. And Kimberley, your work was originally shown over a year ago as a part of Danse Bouzanière. These are really long-term projects, long processes. I think it's wonderful. I get asked all the time, you know, Amy, how long do you work on one piece? And it's like, yeah, it can take years. I don't know. I don't know if we're in a place to say decades yet ourselves, but eventually we will be.
Choreographers take back pieces all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like we said, things are always changing. So even if you do the same piece, I guess there's a lot of room for difference.
There is.
Yeah.
And growth and, you know, evolving, right?
Yeah. I think this is probably the fourth show that comes out of this whole concept where I see them as stepping stones, so they're not all individual shows. They're all kind of things that led up to the 40 minutes that we're going to be presenting now. So I think the work I did this year has kind of been building up to this moment, which is both terrifying because of, I mean, I'm a young choreographer. I've got, you know, I'm just getting into the feeling of things, so that's kind of a terrifying thing to jump into. But I'm also really happy that I have this opportunity, and it kind of just fell on my laps because it was unpredictable and I had no idea it was going to happen. You know, it was just like
Tangente is really wonderful for that, for sweeping up emerging artists and, you know, allowing us to have a platform to do what we like to do by presenting our work. A lot of organizing, a lot of promotion that they're responsible for. So that's a great help.
We're really lucky to have Tangente in Montreal. And, you know, like we mentioned before, Studio 303, you know, it's choreographers can be a dime a dozen, I think, especially in this city. But to have places like that where people take risks and take chances on choreographers or emerging choreographers or dancers moving into choreography, it's all
definitely.
It's all really great. So where do we go from here is what I'm curious. So we've got the big week. It's coming up. We're a little scared. Maybe we're nervous. We're not dancing in our own work anymore. It sounds amazing. Where do we go from here? What's next after this week?
I just feel like this is one of many cycles. And there may be a cycle 3, who knows? But let it all settle down first. But definitely feels like there's been a lot of change recently in my life. So it does for me feel like kind of the end of a cycle and the beginning of another one. So.
And that's the magic of a cycle, is because there is no beginning or end, so it's just continuous, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, I think after this, I'm going to be busy for a while, but
you're going on tour.
Yeah, we're going to New York right after Tangente, and then we are I'm in Montreal to work for the Fringe Festival, and then JFL, and then after that we're going for a solid 2 months on tour to Saskatoon, Edmonton, Victoria, and Vancouver, all places I haven't performed in yet, so I'm really excited about that.
Oh man, so how many performances in total is that going to make? It must be near 40. 30, 40, eh?
Yeah, near 40.
Oh
we're on our days off, like from what we actually have, we're trying to find just places, whether we can give workshops or stuff like that.
It's a good idea.
And we don't have funding yet for this tour, so we've been raising money, selling matchbooks, like doing everything we possibly could. We have a clothing swap coming up, so it's just trying, we love doing this, and I'm working with a team that is really passionate and really giving all of their energy into it. So I'm very thankful to have such wonderful people on board, and because you have to do this because you love it.
Yeah, you definitely do. It's interesting that you say that you're raising money and you haven't gotten the funding yet. And I think it's really important that you mention that, because I think a lot of us, it is very competitive, like you said before, in Montreal, and to really, if you love it, just to keep on doing it and finding different ways, finding alternatives to keep your art going, because it isn't you won't always get that grant or that, and it takes time, especially in the beginning. So to be creative with how you find ways to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find that balance between working as a part of your creative process for the actual body of work and the planning of tour or raising money and the sort of organizational side of it?
I gained a lot of experience as an administrator kind of thing through the Fringe, and I think that's work that I could apply everywhere, because nowadays you need to be super organized. I feel like I even write on my to-do list, answer your text messages. I think even that is something.
I need to start doing that on my lists.
I don't know, I feel like we're so overwhelmed with all these messages and ways of communicating that we often forget to make real connections with people. I think that's what the hardest thing is. There's a lot of office work where I do this because I love to be in a studio, I love to move, I love to have real interactions with people. So there's that whole side, but it's necessary, right? Because to do the posters and the flyers, and right now it's great because Tangente does help a lot with that, but other than this show, everything else is pretty much self-promotion and self-produced, and so that's a lot of work.
It's probably more than 50% of the work, and work that I feel like I'm just beginning to realize what that real percentage is, because like you, I prefer that hands-on, person-to-person contact in studio creation. So I'm just learning the other part of it, the other huge chunk.
And as I said before, and I can't say it enough, is that I'm surrounded by people and within the company and also people who are ready to help us, who are really, really supportive. And I mean, I don't just have dancers, I have collaborators that are on board with me, and that's really something that's worth so much. And whether it's sending out emails or helping to plan our fundraisers or writing grants, so I'm not doing it alone, and I would never be able to, because it's a big project, but we're really excited.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that we do rely on the people around us often as artists and not only as dancers, but I think in every art form, we also lead double lives too sometimes, working a job here and there, getting a contract, trying to make it all work out. So yeah, I can totally appreciate that.
The nice thing about this podcast and it being able to kind of connect with artists, because I feel like as an artist, we're often stuck in our bubbles and our worlds and our lives, because, our lives inspire our work, and then we're working on our projects, and it's really, the focus is really towards ourselves, which is also what I love the most about it, because it takes time to self-reflect and understand things and let things sink in. But this podcast has allowed me to also peek into other people's processes, and that's been a huge inspiration to see that, I'm not the only one writing grants and like pulling my hair out and being like, damn it, how am I going to pay for this project? You know, so it's a really lovely place to connect with other people.
So, Kimberley, you do work with the Marie-Chenard Dance Company currently as their rehearsal director, correct?
Yeah, well, currently I'm on maternity leave.
Wonderful.
But I was, up until I left. Yeah.
And the reason why I bring it up is because I am curious to know if that influences your work at all, if you carry a lot of those experiences with you.
Yeah. I mean, whether consciously or not, definitely I have a lot of my formative years. I mean, I worked with her since 2006. So definitely she's been a huge mentor for me. And she's really, a successful woman in Montreal in terms of her, building a little mini empire for of dance and works of choreography over the years. So I've really learned from her in terms of like her process, but also just like entrepreneurial skills and like being it all at once. We were talking about administrative work and stuff because like it is her own company and she runs it. So, and I've been sort of her right hand. So definitely learning, and I wouldn't say that I'm probably very different than her, but definitely, definitely she's sort of really kind of paved a lot of experience for me. I mean, just first of all, as an interpreter, I was really able to travel the world with her and through her choreographies. So a lot of experience on stage through the company. And then now as a rehearsal director, just being that outside eye and being able to be a tool as a rehearsal director for her. So just being able to see things and then, make connections and transitions. So that's helped me a lot for my own work in having like that eye to know where to fix certain problems and, how to solve things. And
can I maybe ask you to describe what a rehearsal director does? Because I know that it doesn't apply in all genres of dance, and we do have listeners from various backgrounds. So maybe if you could summarize sort of what your role is as a rehearsal director.
Yeah, well, like I was just saying, like to solve certain problems, try to work on work with the dancers on where they are at that moment within a piece. So, watch a piece and then get a feel for maybe what it could make the piece a little smoother. If they've just been bombarded with, choreography, certain steps, how to make them feel like they're living that. And so depending where they are, I guess, in the process, sometimes a piece will need more cleaning, to make it more, precise. And so that requires a lot of like running things over and over, getting certain, music cues. But again, like I said, it depends on where they are in the process, and also really depends on the choreographer and the type of choreography you're working, and from piece to piece, because each piece is so different. But yeah, so cleaning, making the dancers feel comfortable within the work, also instilling confidence within the dancers. Sometimes, directors or choreographers can be short, but it's not, I don't think it's ever like, personal. I think it's just sometimes there's that link between the choreographer and the dancer, and sometimes the rehearsal director can smooth that bridge, and make the dancers feel like, it's not about who they are, but it's just more about a way of executing or
about the work itself. And it's I think most recently started working with a rehearsal director, and it's a really wonderful feeling to have somebody that you can kind of step away and just watch things happen and watch the work clean up and really get into the details of because when you see movement so much, sometimes you see past those little details. You see it as a whole, and having an outside eye really allows them
bigger
to pick.
perspective for me. And like I just recently got Jamie Wright to come in and look at my work, and it's been such a help just being able to have someone else, like you said, because I get so involved in the work that it's like getting so involved in an essay, you need someone to proofread it, like someone else, just to have this clear eye and a different perspective.
Yeah. So at first I had Alexia Martel, and then she ended up becoming a part of the piece, and now we're working with Audrey Rochette, who's been really generous and really lovely.
She's great. I love it. Great.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have, like I just mentioned, Jamie Wright, and then Lara Kramer has also come in and been an outside eye, and then I'm going to have Ginelle Chagnon come in, and
she's my favorite.
Yeah, I'm so lucky. I won't be able to be at the last two shows, so she's going to step in. And I think she'll be great.
I just melted when you said her name. Yeah. She's just, I love her so much.
Such a very huge inspiration throughout my 3 years at Concordia. I don't think I would have got through it without her.
No, it's true. Me neither. Is there something that we didn't cover that you want to address, maybe?
My father's going to come see my work for the first time, and he's never seen contemporary dance or anything, so that's an exciting, it makes me see my work with a different perspective, and I've never really had to worry about that, because I guess usually the crowd, in Montreal, we're so used to seeing contemporary dance where nothing is weird anymore. It's just, you know what I mean? So I think that's going to be an interesting thing.
How far is he traveling from?
Oh, Timmins. 12 hours maybe.
Craziness.
But yeah, other than that, I'm very excited and happy that we got to talk, because I was like, now I have a better feel of what's going to happen on stage.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and it sounds like you guys are unified almost by accident, right? But in some sort of vision of the cycle. It's really nice to hear you both sort of talk about that together and gel. Thank you so much for coming in today, Kimberley and Steph, who's usually here. And thank you so much, Allison, for inviting me to come and blab with these amazing choreographers. I love doing that. Let's do it again.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Should we maybe say the dates of the shows and stuff?
Yes. Bear in mind that this is actually going to be taking place at Theatre Prospero, not at Monument National or any other venue that Tangente has been using, but Théâtre Prospero. And it's going to be taking place February 20th, 21st, and 22nd at 7:30. And the 23rd, that's the Sunday, at 4 p.m. And it's a double bill. Both pieces are about 40 minutes long with an intermission between them. And it's a lot of bang for your buck, guys. So, yeah, sounds like it's going to be an amazing show. Thank you both so much for joining us. We've been speaking with Stephanie Morin-Robert and Kimberley de Jong, with Amy Blackmore co-hosting. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to have a sound bite from each of the works that are going to be presented in this double bill at Tangente. Stephanie, can you introduce what you're going to play for us?
Yeah, this is a piece by Ian Ferrier and his collaborating musicians. Not necessarily a piece that's in the show, but a piece that has inspired the research of the movement.
Perfect. And Kimberley, what will we hear after that?
This is a piece by Alva Noto and Ryuko Sakamoto. It's a mix of piano and electro sounds, called off the album Rion 1.
I don't have any money, he said. I got something you might need. It's a pill I brought. Cure all your ills, you take one. Feel the tension melt away like some kind of black magic. It's running around the edges of your skin. It's all down the borders of your body. It's all floating in some atmosphere around your head. To know where I'm going, there's no such thing as ghosts. Just buried in the ground. That's the end of the story.
Dirty Feet is recorded every week at the Montreal Improv Theatre. Check them out at montrealimprov.com.
Dirty Feet est produit et animé par,
produced and hosted by Allison Burns,
JD Papillon,
et Stéphanie Morin-Robert.
You can find out more about our show at nomoreradio.com, follow us on Twitter at Dirty Feet, and find us on Facebook at Dirty Feet Podcast.
Vous pouvez écouter tous nos épisodes sur notre site web ou Vous pouvez vous abonner également sur iTunes à notre podcast.
Listen to past episodes on the website or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes.
While you're there, be sure to give us a rating and or leave a comment to help us spread the word.
Tune in next week for a whole new show.